What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Star Wars Visions Presents The Ninth Jedi. This is the first full spin-off series of one of the anthology shorts previously introduced in the Star Wars Visions animated anthology series on Disney+. We've got 3 seasons of Visions under our belt, season 3 coming out last year. And of course, the original Ninth Jedi short came out in season 1 back in 2021. And then we got a subsequent follow-up in Vision season 3. But now we're here with a fully formed 8-episode season, picking up where things left off, particularly after the events of that first episode. The Ninth Jedi was an excellent choice for a full season adaptation from Star Wars Visions, because ever since that first episode back in 2021, The Ninth Jedi made perfect sense to get the full season treatment, because it expertly took the promise of Star Wars Visions. I loved The Ninth Jedi when it first came out in Star Wars Visions season 1, was very excited at the prospect of a full season run. The prospect of Star Wars Visions, animated, anthology, non-canon, really lends itself quite well to the vast Star Wars sandbox. There's so many types of stories that can be told with a lot of room for reinterpretation. Visions in and of itself is certainly up and down in terms of quality, but you have to appreciate the various swings people take. The Ninth Jedi, in only 20 minutes back in Visions Season 1, was able to really expertly communicate a fully realized, compelling world that you wanted to learn more about, and most crucial of all, some key Star Wars lore changes, reinterpretations that were really effective. In the case of the Ninth Jedi, that was the specific meaning behind a lightsaber's color and what that conveys about the wielder of the blade. Overall, I was quite satisfied with this first season of the Ninth Jedi. It does play with a lot of familiar Star Wars tropes. Arch-villain Nawan is very much Kylo Ren coded. The Kyber cannon is of course a Death Star clone. We have a wisecracking droid here, but the wonder of this world where the Jedi have been lost and the galaxy is in flux. Again, familiar Star Wars themes for sure, but I found it really enjoyable. Most of the characters don't have a whole lot of true development apart from the lead Cara, but whether it was Jimin or the Margrave, a lot of the supporting characters were still cool for what they were. And I think visually, thanks to the animation strength of Production IG, of course, a decades-running storied animation house, this CG animation mixed with hand-drawn style looks tremendous. And it really lends itself to the fast pace of Star Wars combat and various types of worlds throughout the galaxy. I really enjoyed the 3rd episode here where we get that backstory with a lot of the lore dump of the state of the Jedi Order and how things got to where they got to. You know, learn Nalam's origin and Jimin's role in the bad events that happened in the past and how he got there. I liked a lot of the combat. I think the use of the Margrave, and when he leaves the story, again, you could see it coming. It was a bit predictable, but I think it was very effective, character beat, story beat. I would have liked maybe a little bit more of Nalam's path of nothingness and his desire to, in his mind, be altruistic in his ability to conquer the galaxy. I think there was more meat on that bone, and it kind of devolves into more generic villainy by the end, but still a cool, villain for sure. Again, reminds you a lot of Kylo Ren in terms of the angst, in terms of the priorities and whatnot. His underling as well, I forget his name, the other, evil force user there. Obviously, at one point, very much evoking Grievous visually, but I think just his energy, his personality, kind of reminded me a lot of Knights of the Old Republic and Darth Malak / Darth Bandon even vibes. Kind of a fun nod. Visually, there's definitely a lot of cool prequel design choices. That one planet we go to, kind of reminiscent of Naboo architecture wise. I love the idea of the asteroid ships or the meteor ships. Really cool visually. The question of whether it makes sense to do a 2nd season of The Ninth Jedi is a bit curious, right? I, of course, would welcome it. Again, The Ninth Jedi to me was just an excellent episode in season 1. Back in season 3, we got that 2nd episode. That was kind of more of a diversion. This season here really picks up after the events of the 1st episode we saw. But Vision Season 1 also gave us something, I think, really tremendous, which, of course, is that very first episode, the duel, with the Ronin Sith Hunter, very Kurosawa-coded visually and whatnot. They, of course, made a written word manga about that same character. But I think that story and that world and that visual palette certainly would lend itself to a season of Star Wars Visions, spin-off Visions season. Of course, that's a different animation studio. Who knows, the detail there. But I actually kind of think I would welcome that. Let's do a season of the duel. Let's do a season of Journey to the Dark Head for Visions Season 2. When Visions hits, there's really cool stuff there in terms of just lore and interpretation and fun, and I think the stakes, they're always low with Visions, and that's still the case with this full season of Ninth Jedi. They're inherently low. It's animated, it's non-canon. Visions itself is anthology, right? But Star Wars storytelling is about to be pretty sparse on Disney Plus, and maybe you would argue that that's a good thing. Less is more. Go back to the good old days when you were really desperate to get anything new from Star Wars. That has not been our circumstance the last 10 years, right? But with Ahsoka Season 2 coming out in January and more than likely being the final Ahsoka season, there's nothing on the horizon with Star Wars on Disney Plus. We assume more animation is on the way. I would not be shocked if Visions takes, alternating gears with, Tales of the Empire anthology, or the, eventual sequel series to Bad Batch and Clone Wars, whatever that ends up being. Not be shocked, but without those things, without these animated Star Wars properties, there's nothing coming out. So I have to imagine more is on the way. But let me know, would you like a second season of The Ninth Jedi? Would you prefer a new season of a different Visions spinoff? Where are you at with it? What'd you think of this season? And for more TV reviews, more Star Wars, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.